Hi, everyone. We have a very special guest with us today. Mary is here, and she's going to share her story of eliminating OCD symptoms, depression, insomnia, and even a little bit of hoarding. So I'm really excited, Mary. Thanks for coming on and being willing and getting vulnerable to share where you started and where you are now in just such a short period of time. So Mary just completed a 10-week health course with us, and she regulated her nervous system and learned how to be healthy in her habits and in how she lives life and how she treats and views herself. And by regulating her nervous system, she has since eliminated all of her chronic symptoms. And she's tried a lot of other things in the past, from functional medicine to books, to cognitive behavioral therapy, to seeing, tons of different therapists, psychologists, and none of that worked for her to get to the root cause of what she had going on. So I'm really excited for her to share with you guys and be a beacon of light and hope and inspiration that it is possible to heal. Our symptoms are not a life sentence. Our conditions are not a life sentence. And you really can get to being fully healthy, and your body is capable of doing that very quickly when you give it and yourself what you need. So, Mary, I know we've done another interview here to share some different details about your healing story. So I have some new kinds of questions for you today that I think will help a lot of people, grasp the concepts that we teach in this group and start applying them in a new way. So I'm really excited to have you articulate and share your journey and your heart. Bless you. With everybody here, because I think it'll help them grasp the concepts that they've been learning, because what we do is very different than traditional methods. It's also very different than holistic methods. So sometimes it's hard to understand what it is that we're teaching. The other thing before we dive in, I just wanted to let you guys know that Mary's healing was without diets, without supplements, without therapies, without band-aids or techniques. She learned to be healthy from within, and that's what allowed her body to resolve its stress and turn on its ability to self-repair. So I'm really excited for you to share, Mary, that there is another path to healing that's actually much simpler and really just cuts to the chase of where we need to go. So do you mind sharing, I didn't say this before, but Mary, just a little bit about yourself? I know you're a mom, just so people know you're a normal human being, just like all of us.
Yeah, no problem. I have 4 kids. Before I got married and had children, I had been in Europe trying to find a career path. I had just graduated from college. I studied philosophy and have a bachelor's degree, a Bachelor of Arts degree in philosophy. Went to Europe to teach English, and I wanted that to be like my dream, and I couldn't function in that environment. So I left Europe and I came back to the United States and started pursuing a different dream, which was I've always wanted to teach, and I knew I wasn't able to teach professionally. I knew I didn't have the skill to do that. I couldn't handle that environment. And so I said, well, maybe I'll just have my own kids. And so I got married and I had kids and was trying to be a teacher and a mom. And just, that was it. That was my dream, was to be a good mom. Mm-hmm. And I thought about maybe getting a job, but I knew I wasn't even able to handle the stress of being a mom. So putting a job on top of that just did not seem like a good idea.
Yeah.
And so that's where I've been. I used to love rollerblading and singing, and I used to folk dance and traveled the world folk dancing in different folk dance festivals. And it was really great. But I think now that I'm looking back at it, I'm like, it was just so temporary. Those things didn't have any effect on my happiness.
Hmm.
And now I'm looking for what else to do. I can't go back to those things. And who am I and what am I? Who am I really now? So I'm telling you all these things about who I am, and I'm feeling like, no, that's not who I am.
Yeah, that's where you've been. And we're going to dive deeper just so you guys know into Mary's story and her starting point when we met Mary kind of at her lowest. So you guys know she's a well-educated, well-experienced person, but she was at the low of low. And now she's not, and she's discovering who is she really, and having lasting happiness and health from within. It's a very new experience if you've never felt that before. So we'll go into some of that. Mary, why did you choose to work with us? I know you had tried a lot of things. Why did you choose this path of healing?
Yeah, like you said, I was at the lowest point I've ever been at. And I had my 4 kids and me, and I didn't have a job, and I didn't have a home. My husband decided he wanted to stay in Bolivia and wanted a divorce. And I couldn't stay in Bolivia. That wasn't going to be healthy for me. And so I had nothing. I had these kids to take care of and nothing else. And, it sounds really dumb. I just don't know how else to say it, but it sounds really dumb. I was scrolling, I was on Facebook, and this ad popped up to have a free consultation. And I've been trying so many different things. All these things on Facebook kept coming up, and I'd contact these people and follow along with their program for a little while. But when I signed up for a free consultation with Michal, and it was just personal. It was just a personal meeting, and it wasn't, all these other programs were programs, and I had to fit myself into the program. And when I talked to Michal, she helped me see how I fit. I just had a sense. I couldn't see it when I started, but I just had a sense that this was about me, and the program would be about me. And they weren't trying to push the program.
That's beautiful. Yes, which is, many of you guys know my story, and those of you who don't, I was so sick with mystery. Nobody knew what was wrong with me, mentally, emotionally, or physically. And it got so bad, I was bedridden for about 1.5 years. So the reason why I'm so passionate about teaching you guys and shining the light on the path to heal is because of my own healing journey, and not finding answers in conventional medicine, and not finding many more answers in holistic health or in the mind body stuff or in psychology or emotional healing. There was always something missing. And it was always what Mary's talking about is, everybody has their technique, or everybody has their modality or their supplements or their diet plan or their special program. And then they treat everybody kind of the same through it. Even people who say, no, we do a custom approach. Functional medicine is a custom approach. Well, if you zoom out, you see them doing all the same things with every single person. And they end up being stuck in that for years. And nobody's ever really 100% better. And so that caused a lot of heartache and frustration for me as well. So Mary, I appreciate that that's what you're sharing. It's not you trying to fit into a program or a modality. It's your program is wrapping itself around you, so to speak. It's well, what do you need, and what are your root causes, and how are you unhealthy, and how do you become healthy as an individual? And everybody truly is unique in that process. So
can I say,
yeah,
what I've come to really love is that following the program is what helps me. But at the beginning of my process, I couldn't grasp that. I just needed to be treated like me, like I needed. And it's been a process of coming to the realization and recognizing that is what is going to help me, that the program is what's going to help me. But it was so nice to have you meet me where I was at, and recognizing that I couldn't grasp that right away. And you knew what to do and how to help me, because there are lots of people who could see where I needed to be, but they couldn't reach me where I was.
Yep. Yeah, baby steps. Yeah, exactly. And it does, each of our journeys does look so unique. And I like, we're using the word program, but really by learning this understanding of how our bodies work, this understanding of how we work or don't work, and what stress is and where it comes from, and how it creates our symptoms, by having a new awareness and the ability to develop yourself, to self-develop and change from within. That's what makes this different than every other program, system, tool, methodology out there, as it's an understanding of yourself. And Mary, you said when you were, I don't want to interrupt, but I did have a question that you could say whatever you want. You said when I met you, you were homeless, you were jobless, kind of recently divorced or going through a divorce or separation, had 4 children. Most people, I think, would use those as excuses, not from a malicious point of view, but they would think that those would be reasons why they couldn't take on something like this, or why they couldn't heal, or why they couldn't afford mentorship or a program. So why for you was it the opposite? Why for you did you choose to make that the time when that was going to be your rock bottom, and you were going to do this so you could have your whole life? Why didn't you use those as an excuse not to get started on addressing the root causes?
That's a really good question. It was really hard for me to commit to do this. I don't know, I'm sure you remember it. I wouldn't commit at first. It took some negotiating to get down to it. And it still took me a year after I after I committed to the program. It took me another year before I actually really said, okay, I'm actually going to do this work, and I'm going to listen and do what they say. Because my first experience, I wasn't doing what I was asked to do as well as I could, I think, but I know I didn't get as much out as I wanted to get out of it. And the reason why I chose the program, the reason why I said I have to do this, was because it really was who I had and still have a sense of it really is a sense of who I am. It's not who I want to be, it's who I am. And I knew that what was happening in my life was a result of a lot of trauma, a lot of stress that had been building up, not just in my lifetime, but in my family before me. And I knew that the only way to get over that was to face it, to do something about it. And it had already gotten to the point where I couldn't see it getting any worse.
Mm.
It did get worse, but I knew that I just wanted I knew that I wanted to start making things better.
Awesome, Mary. Yeah, and very vulnerable. In my own journey, nothing that's worked has been easy. And it's taken me way outside my comfort zone. But I had to make that leap because I couldn't stay stuck where I was anymore. It almost didn't matter. I had to let go of everything and just talk about the leap of faith. I'm not staying stuck where I am. I want what this can provide. I'm going for it. And it's like you said, it's very challenging. And just so everyone knows, Mary, you're so funny that it was hard for you to commit. That's not my experience of you.
Okay.
Because we had one conversation. And in that one conversation, you said, I'm not staying stuck where I am. I'm all in. So even though it was very challenging, and it is for everyone I talked, and it has been for me, it's scary. You don't even know really what you're getting into. But you can't stay where you are. You have to do whatever it takes to heal. That's why I've gotten where I am today. But in one conversation, you were so honest with yourself, and you faced it, and we wrestled. You call it negotiating, but you just, I just asked you where you were at and how committed you were and what you wanted for your life, or if you wanted to stay put. And my experience of you was, in one conversation, you made that clear, decisive choice.
Yeah, I see it differently now.
Which is why I know you're so successful. So how would you describe, I know you've done a lot of other things, including functional medicine, including some of our other programs for different things. How would you describe this health program as different than everything else you've tried, than therapy, than functional medicine? How would you put in your own words what this healing path is?
Yeah, the biggest difference is that, which I didn't like at first. I still don't really like it all the time, but it's really effective. And that is that I am healing myself. That's the biggest change. Like when you go to the doctor, they'll give you a pill and that's supposed to make it better. You go to the psychotherapy and they take you through a little process, and over a course of time, you're supposed to get better because they're telling you what to do and you do it. But in this program, you say, you have to make a decision. You have to make a choice. And I can't make the choice for you. It's a choice that you get to make. And having it put out like that so clearly between stay where you are or choose to do something else. That's what I needed to see, that I could keep on that track and stay where I was, or I really could choose. And if I used the tools that you were giving me, I could do something different. And I know that sounds like the same thing that the other therapists were doing. The other difference is believing that I can do it. And when you put it on my shoulders, instead of saying, well, I'm the doctor, I know what to do, then I'm dependent on that other person. And that was my problem, codependence. And I knew that, and I recognized it, and it had been diagnosed by the doctors, and they had the right diagnosis, but then the solution was to rely on them.
Good one. It's true. And
it didn't help me. It just made me dependent on them. And I knew that they knew how to be independent themselves. And I could see that they did, but I could not see how to get to where they were. And I don't think they knew how to show me that. Or it might not have been them, it really was me. I didn't want to see it. I didn't want to.
Well, and you're very spot on. Therapists aren't trained to get you here, just like doctors say that about 95 to 98% of all chronic symptoms are from stress, but they don't know how to teach you where does stress come from and how do you actually resolve it so that you can be better, right? So they have a lot of great things, and we don't talk bad about them, and they work for some people, But we work with the people that doesn't work for, that have already tried that and are still suffering. And we teach the how. We teach the how do you become independent, healthy? How do you eliminate your stress? How do you choose to be healthy and to heal? How do you do it?
Exactly what my frustration was. I could see that that would work for other people. And I could see that they were doing stuff in their minds that was invisible, and they couldn't explain to me how they were just listening to what the therapist told them to do, and then somehow it worked, and they couldn't explain. And working here with you and with the whole program, you explain the how, and really well defined, like, this is what we do. And your confidence in knowing exactly what the next step to take was really made me confident too. It helped me do it. I knew that you knew, and I was willing to try to do it too.
Beautiful. And I love all it takes is willingness, being open and willing. That's a commitment to yourself. Yep. And you can get it. So, there was another good thing you said I wanted to comment on. It can be very confronting for people. Just like you said, I don't like that it's all on me. I don't like that I'm the problem if I have chronic symptoms. That sounds awful, but it's a good thing, because if you're the problem, then you can be the solution. When you're fully responsible and you realize you get the keys to your health, then you can use them. And when we're in these models, or we look at our symptoms as if they're just happening to us, and we have no say and we have no control, that's why people stay stuck in these methods that don't work, and they just end up coping or band-aiding or on some pill or some supplement, or back to the chiropractor you go, that you're spending so much money and time trying to manage and suppress symptoms. And that's really the best you're going to get in conventional and holistic healthcare models, which is why, for my own journey, after teaching functional medicine for 6 years, I started asking myself, hold on, am I actually healthy, or am I a sick person that's on 30 supplements a day? And all my personal care products are natural and unscented. And, if I breathe car exhaust, I'm tired and I have to sleep for hours. Am I actually a healthy person, or am I a sick person trying to live in a bubble just to function? This doesn't make sense. And I don't like that all my clients are in the same boat either. And that's what really opened me up to a new way. And what I teach now, which is that health comes from the inside, and you are in control over your body is controlled by your brain and your nervous system. And if your nervous system is in defaulting to fight, flight, freeze, or fawn, the reacting, the triggers, the stress response, which if you have chronic symptoms, that's where you live. That's the default response of your brain and nervous system. Well, you're the one who controls your brain and nervous system. And when you get to the real root cause, how you see yourself, how you see the world, your value, your worth, how you treat yourself, your relationship with yourself, the past traumas you're holding on to, the unresolved conflicts from your life that you didn't cope with, that then came out in an illness or a condition. When you really deal with that, your brain and your nervous system simultaneously changes, and you can be in the parasympathetic, the resting, digesting, growth, and repair, ongoing 24/7 self-repair. You can't bottle that up in a supplement, but it's ongoing repair to all of your body. Or you could also say, you're in a vagal state, which is like, think of, a lot of people go on vacation, they feel better. Or they get a massage, they feel better. They get acupuncture, they feel better for a really short period of time, because that's like a resting, healing state. Well, if you live in that all the time, your body is in homeostasis. There can't be any symptoms. There isn't anxiety in that state. And so it's the awareness and the knowledge of how to get there and how to be a healthy person that you constantly feed your nervous system instructions to be in a self-repair state. That's what this is actually about, not just some concept. You know, everybody knows forgiveness heals, or, you know, you got to let it go. You got to be committed to yourself. You got to put yourself first. These are very cliche terms. You know, everything in therapy, they're great ideas, but nobody's actually teaching you how to make those changes on an experiential, real level, where your emotions and how you feel about things, which I know Mary's going to talk about as part of her story, the actual feelings and responses change. So things just aren't as triggering to you. Or you see your old patterns pop up and you're like, oh, that's kind of weird. I'll do something different this time. So thank you, Mary, for sharing. Do you want to share anything else about that, or shall I go on to the next question?
No, I was just going to say that I was resisting what you were saying. My mind was wandering.
Oh yeah, great. I know I went on a tangent just to catch everyone else up. So
but it was really, I'm still resisting this idea that I'm healthy. Like, I'm still got some stuff in my mind that I'm like, oh no, that means I'm not healthy.
yeah, do you mind sharing just one?
Like, it's really still hard to get out of bed and get myself to bed on time. And that's been a struggle for me for a really long time, like most of my life. And so the fact that I'm still like not going to bed and on a good time and not waking up at a good time, in my mind, I'm like, well, if I was healthy, I would just,
I totally understand. And so I would love to speak with that. And thank you for being so vulnerable. And just so everyone knows, Mary and I didn't plan what we would say. I let her know these are the questions I'd like to ask you, and we're just opening it up to wherever it goes based on being honest and authentic. And so one thing that happened for me through the process of becoming healthy is I realized I had a fantasy about what healthy meant. And I too didn't want to know that I was healthy because I really wanted to hang on to my symptoms. And I've got a great course in the group called Our Attachment to Our Symptoms, and why we don't want to give up our symptoms. Because we're in a relationship. It's kind of like an abusive or toxic relationship that we can't let go of. That's our relationship to our symptoms. So I kind of had this imaginary fantasy about what it was like to be healthy. And I thought that it meant I would never struggle with life. I'd never feel negative or sad emotions, that I would never, it's kind of like I would be superhuman. Like maybe I'd never catch a cold, or I could just go run or work out at the gym for hours and not be sore, right? Like I kind of had this fantasy about what it was like to be healthy. And I would just, it'd be this magical, easy life. Well, that's not the reality of life. Life is full of challenges. Life is full of conflicts. And I am still human. I am not perfect. I'm not a robot, and I'm not a machine. So for me, too, Mary, every day I'm faced with that choice. And all throughout my day, I'm faced with that choice. Am I going to make a healthy, resilient choice? Or am I going to take the easy way out because it doesn't really matter and nobody's watching right now? And that's what Mary's speaking to. She thought that maybe once she was healthy, like it would just be so easy to be perfect or to make all the right choices, to never struggle with anything ever again. And I felt that too. So it was kind of for me, and in one of my, I have another great video called The Choice to Heal. And I talk about how pissed off I was when I realized what it meant to be healthy. Because really, I just wanted an escape from my discomfort. I didn't actually want to become a healthy person, because that takes commitment and diligence and integrity and responsibility, consistency, and it's an active, engaged process. So I kind of wanted to like just arrive at this fairy tale where I'm sitting on the beach and, drinking Mai Tais and whatever, like money grows on trees and I never have to deal with real life or challenges. But actually what being healthy is it's an active, engaged choice and an active, engaged process. And when we make choices, and this is really important in what I teach, you will actually find that there are thousands of choices you're making a day. If you have symptoms where you're taking the easy way out, you're not making choices that you feel good about, and you're telling yourself it doesn't matter. And every time you go out of integrity with yourself, especially on the small things, your nervous system actually registers an imbalance or a stress. It actually builds stress. It builds insecurity. So being healthy is actually developing the muscles and developing the awareness about your habits and your choices that are leading to chronic stress, and shifting those habits and those patterns to build health, to build peace of mind, to build peace and balance in your nervous system, to build resilience, the ability to bounce back quickly in times of conflict or stress. And that's what actually feeds being a healthy, knowing yourself as a healthy person actually feeds the brain and the nervous system information that says you can stay in self-repair. There's no need for fight or flight. There's no need for survival. You're okay. You're okay. And you can handle the challenges that come up in real life parenting, relationships, jobs, money, sex, time management, extended family. Like we all deal, the government, taxes, we all deal with chronic stressors. It's the ability to handle life in a healthy way that actually makes us healthy. And there's no cruise control to that. So Mary, good job. That what Mary's saying is it wasn't easy to say yes to this program. Life circumstances were not ideal. She had every reason to put off getting healthy and diving into this work. But she used that as the very reason she needed this work so she could get the rest of her life. And Mary's also not saying that it's a fairy tale. Mary's saying it takes real work, dedication, and commitment every morning. For me too, Mary, you're not alone. Every morning to get up with your alarm or push snooze 500 times. Which one is going to make you feel resilient and have a good experience of yourself? Which one's going to lead to stress and make you feel not so great about yourself? And it's the same when I open the fridge. What am I going to make for breakfast? Am I just going to down a shake, or am I going to say I'm important enough to spend the time to make a meal that I would prefer and enjoy eating? So it's a growing journey. And for me, my growing journey is never over, but certainly my chronic symptoms are gone. And that's the foundation. So I have a foundation of being healthy, and the rest of my life, I get to learn and grow and get stronger in certain areas. And, I get curveballs thrown my way that I don't know how to handle, and I have to grow up and learn how to handle them. So, Mary, I love that you are so honest, and I hope this is helpful for people to really kind of get on a deeper level what it does take to heal. Do you have anything you want to say about that before we go?
Nope.
That helpful?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Good job.
Yeah,
Mary.
it reminded me of how to get out of bed.
Yeah, I know, how silly, but it's the small things that matter so much. Yes. Yep. Sometimes I need those reminders too. So, this is perfect. So my next question I wanted Mary to articulate is, what does it mean to be healthy? So what have you learned? I didn't plan that, but what do you know being healthy is now, because you have a really solid foundation in this work versus what you maybe thought it was before, or what people think it is?
Yeah, what I'm experiencing right now as a healthy person is that when something is disruptive, you can feel it's disruptive, you feel it's not. I like the term that I've heard here, self-defeating, and see the contradiction in what I'm trying to do and what I'm actually doing. When I see that, healthy means I know how to ask myself the questions and be honest, and maybe step away from that situation and go get myself a drink or get a snack or maybe make a decent meal. And when I have met my needs, I can come back to that question and say, what is going on here? Why did I choose to do this self-defeating behavior? And that's what healthy means now. Is before I would just focus and why am I doing that? Why am I doing that? Why am I doing that? And I would never get anywhere.
Mhm.
And health means, yeah, that is important to ask and figure that out. But there's other things that you're not doing that are preventing you from finding the answer.
Yeah. Yep. Well, and a big thing I used to do is beat myself up also. And every person I've ever worked with who has chronic health issues is very hard on themselves and beats themselves up. And our symptoms are one way we do that, believe it or not, that we can punish ourselves with our symptoms. But yeah, it's how do I need to support myself in what I'm facing in life? How do I need to support myself in the choice that's before me? And when you see those patterns, and Mary, maybe this is a good time, you were telling me earlier that when you see your old habits come up, they feel totally different. And you can just see them, and then you're like, wow, that's not me. Would you mind speaking to that?
Yeah. Like there's something just in my recent, really recent memory. Yeah, it feels different now. Like it's a habit. It's something that I just do because that's what I've always done. And the difference now is that as I'm doing it, I'm feeling this. I don't like this. There's something that's not quite right. And before, I would take that as a sign that I was doing something wrong, or that I was bad, or that there was something that I was, and something that was inherently missing. And I would criticize and say, well, why don't you do it this way? And why can't you do this? And you should just do this thing. And that's where I used to go. And now I'm doing this thing that's a habit that I can feel is wrong. And I could feel it was not helpful before, but now I can feel it's not helpful. And instead, and the experience is completely different, because although I felt like it wasn't helpful before, and I can feel it's not helpful now, my experience now is to say, oh, that doesn't feel good. I can change that. I can change that. Where before, I didn't know that I could change it. And I was just spinning my wheels.
Yep.
Feeling like I have to do something, I have to do something, I have to do something, but I'm not getting anywhere.
Yep.
And so now I know I have the tools to change that when I'm ready to change that.
Beautiful. Yeah. And with I was in personal development. I saw counselors, I saw dozens of doctors. I did spiritual counseling. I know you as well, from the spiritual circles and devotionals and studies. And that's actually how all that work felt to me, was I was spinning my wheels, but not actually changing. And it felt like I could even change on the outside. Like maybe I speak different, maybe I schedule things different so I'm not overbooking myself and overwhelmed all the time. I would change some things out here, but on the inside, I still felt all the stuff. And I still beat myself up, and I still didn't have just a loving, supportive relationship with myself. And when you said, when it feels yucky to me and I see I'm in my old pattern, and I just know that I can change that if I want. There was such a peaceful acceptance of yourself, kindness with yourself. And that's really a remarkable change. That means you've changed on the inside. And then it's just so natural to make changes on the outside. You just, for my husband, he just doesn't want to drink as much, or smoke anymore. Or, it's like, oh, I just don't want to do my old patterns anymore because they just don't feel good. It's easier to let them go and to make the supportive choices rather than fighting with yourself from your mind. Go work out, get up. That's how I used to be, why can't you, blah, blah, blah. Oh, you made a mistake again. Why are you binging on chocolate? Or whatever it is. It's just, it's natural to step into your changes when you deal with what's on the inside. So I love your articulations, Mary. 2 more questions. So what's the biggest misconception you had about your symptoms or what it would take to heal? From before you knew any of this work, what do you think is the biggest misconception you had?
It's a little tricky because I feel like I knew that I needed to do something, but I didn't want, I knew that I needed to do something to heal and grow and change, but I really thought that it required the other people in my life to do something too.
Good one. Yep. That's
didn't
how it feels.
My relationships unless the other person was willing to help heal them.
Yep. Good job. We get really stuck in that trap. I've seen every client that I've mentored through this process over the last 13 years think that it's something out here that needs to change. Maybe it's my job, maybe it's my spouse, maybe it's my kids, maybe it's my parents, maybe it's money, maybe it's where I live, maybe it's the government. Maybe it's like this past event. I was never the same after this trauma, but I can't change that. So now I'm stuck with trauma. We always think it's out here. And there's actually a coin termed in psychology, and I forget the man who originally coined it, but he said that's an external locus of control, meaning that where I'm at and how I feel is a product of my environment, my past, the people around me, my environment. Well, that we can't change. When we feel that way, well, my sister also has to change for our relationship to be good. Or my ex has to change for me to not be triggered so much because he's the problem. And you've done amazing work, Mary, on who you are as a mother blows me away. Who you are as a co-parent blows me away. I have watched you night and day change into really who I saw you to be, who you always were inside. It's like all of that trauma and those reactions and the story that just kind of melted away. You're just this beautiful big heart. Doesn't mean it's easy. It means you're showing up your best with a beautiful big heart of love. So the opposite of an external locus of control where we're victims to what we're feeling, to our symptoms, to what's around us, is having or developing an internal locus of control. And what that means is I am where I am based on the decisions and choices I've made. So if I don't like where I am, I make different decisions and choices. And that's all that's needed to change my experience. And it puts us back in the driver's seat of our own lives. It's confronting. We have to be willing to be responsible. But you know what? That's where real change and healing and growth comes, beyond what you can get from the medical doctors, beyond what you can get from an herb, a supplement, a homeopathic remedy, a doctor, a therapist, a psychiatrist, or a book. This is where true change happens and lasting change. So beautiful share, Mary, that now you know it's just all up to you how you experience and how your life goes and how you get to feel about it physically and emotionally. So that's really great. So the last thing I just wanted to give you the space to share for people is, where were you at, if you could describe your experience before this work? And then where are you now? Like fast forward to today, what is it like being you after going through this healing journey, becoming healthy? And I know that's vulnerable. So for people who know this isn't something you talk about in your life really, and these are intimate details that maybe you don't go back and think about to really slow down and remember like how it was at rock bottom. So I just appreciate you being willing to share, Mary, and take your time and say whatever you feel comfortable with.
Yeah, the thing is that it is in my awareness. I do remember how it felt, but it's only in the background, and bringing it back into conscious awareness it helps to bring it back into conscious awareness. So that's why I'm willing to go here. Yeah, I really had no power. Felt like I had no power. I see now that I was using my power in all sorts of ways, but I really felt powerless. And the only power that I felt like I did have was to hurt myself. I couldn't do anything to help myself. I really felt like nothing I did was going to help me or anybody else. But I had so much emotion that I didn't know what to do with. Like I would do stuff with it and it just made everything just felt worse. No matter what I did, it just felt worse. And so my response to that was to stop trying to do anything out there. And instead I would just hurt myself. Like physically, I would hit myself in the head. And I would notice that sometimes I wasn't hitting myself intentionally, but I would like accidentally knock my head on a car door, smash my finger in the door. Like I can see now that is a result of being careless and not taking care of myself, going too fast, being agitated when I'm doing something, so I'm not in complete control of what's happening. And so I was hurting myself, not with awareness, but because I was just not taking care of myself. And in so many different ways. And that's how I was handling the emotions that I was feeling. Because I didn't feel like anything else I could do would be effective. And what that says is that I just wished that wasn't here. I was sending myself the message that I was better off being a doormat. That's what I was here. That was my purpose, was just to be walked on. And that would be, if that was what I was here to do, then I might as well do it to myself.
Thank you, Mary, because people are where you were. And I think they don't know that it can really change. So how did being a mom occur to you? As it with depression and insomnia and codependence? And
I was totally checked out. I couldn't, the kids were making their own meals. I made sure that there was food that they could to do, macaroni and cheese and hot dogs and toast and cereal and, so, and there were no rules. And I didn't even try to connect with them because I was so hurt inside myself that I knew that if I went around them, it would just be more painful for them. So I just let them be by themselves, and they isolated themselves because that's what I was doing. It was very solitary, and I could see how painful it was for everybody. And the catastrophic prediction was that I would not be a mom anymore. And I think that was the choice I was making, and that's the direction I was going. And I didn't know how to make that. I didn't know how to get off that path.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't know that there was a way to get off the path.
And I remember, so part of being healthy, you guys, is uncovering how you feel about yourself and how you know yourself and how you relate to the different parts of your life. So when we started diving into this, Mary felt like she was a bad mom. That's how she knew herself, and there was no way out. That's what she's saying. So how cool, as part of the healing process, that you get to know yourself as a good mom and confident in who you are and in your parenting and how you show up for your kids. Like I said earlier, I've seen a night and day difference in who you are with them. And we'll get there in a minute, how you experience it now. But I have one more question. Do you mind sharing how your other relationships occurred to you as a chronically ill person or symptomatic person?
Yeah. Nobody was ever there for me. That's how I felt. I can see now that's totally not true. But but I really felt like they weren't there for me. And that I was completely alone. And nobody was ever going to help me with anything. And I just had to do it all myself. And if I did ask for help, I would just make things worse. So it was like this really vicious loop.
Yep.
I have to do it myself. I can't do it myself. If I need to ask for help, but if I ask for help, I'm going to hurt them, and I don't want to hurt them. So I'm just going to do it myself, and it's just only going to hurt me.
Yeah. Thank you, Mary. Yeah, and I hope you guys are listening to this, those of you who can relate, to know you're not alone. And these are the things that can change. So Mary, do you mind sharing, fast forward to today? You look at your experience of yourself, even the last couple weeks, or the last few months, like, what is life like now?
Yeah. It's the reality is that I'm still in the circumstances are still the same, right? My relationships are still messy. I've been focusing on myself and on doing less damage to my relationships and healing here. And so I haven't done a lot with the relationships outside. And so those circumstances haven't really changed much. And so even though it looks very much the same on the outside, my experience is that I have that I have a say in what is going to happen going forward from here. If I choose to leave it the way it is, that's my choice. And it doesn't depend on somebody else. I can say, this is what I'm gonna do now. I've got all these different choices to make, and this is the one I'm going to work on, and this one's going to stay the way it is. And it's not powerless, it's just making a wise, allocating my resources, focusing on the things that I'm able to make a significant change in. And I don't, that OCD we were talking about, that obsessive, like I have to fix this now. I'm in another situation today in a relationship where I've been really struggling and saying, I have to fix this. I have to make this relationship better. And it's been a real struggle to pull myself away from that and say, I can't do anything about that. I don't have any control over that person's choices. I've done what I can do, and I just need to, I need to take care of myself. That's what's going to help this situation better than anything. And I had this beautiful thought the other day, this beautiful thought that I was obsessing over this. And I thought, if I could connect with this person and ask them and tell them what I was thinking about and ask them what they wanted from me. And then the thought just came up to my head and it said, this person in my life would want me to go do something nice for myself right now. That's what they would want me to do. And to stop worrying about our relationship and stop worrying about them and how they're feeling, but to go take care of myself. And I recognized that was me. I don't have any idea what's happening in that person's mind right now. That's what I needed to do for me. And I did. And I felt so much better. And the relationship with my person is still unresolved. And it's still really disturbing that it's unresolved.
What's beautiful about that, Mary, is you said the external stuff didn't change, which, going back to what most people think, oh, it'll be better when, I'll be healthier when I have more money, or when I quit this job, or when I get out of this relationship, or when I set this boundary, cut this person out, I'll be happier, I'll be healthier. But the truth is, those outside things can't change what's going on for us. So maybe we get a little relief for a little while, but if it's truly resolved, it's just going to pop back up in our life. Mm-hmm. So what you're demonstrating is life's up and downs do not change. Life doesn't become a fairy tale. That's not the point. Being healthy is the ability to respond to any situation, conflict, or stressful situation in a healthy way where you support yourself and know that you're going to be okay. And you don't have to respond or stay in the emotional shakeup. You don't have to be a victim of your circumstance. You can be there and give yourself exactly what you need so that you can be at peace in the midst of challenging circumstances and relationships. Are a challenging part of our life. That's not going to change. Our jobs are an ongoing, challenging relationship. We have a relationship with our job, a relationship with our finances, our family members, spouses, children. We have a relationship to all this stuff. And most of us don't realize that it's unhealthy. And like you said, Mary, where you're beating yourself up all the time, and then you're coping in these unhealthy ways, and then you're beating yourself up about that. And then you're checked out of life and you're checked out of the relationships because you just can't handle it anymore. Versus Mary was able to recognize, I think I'm obsessing, and pull herself back into, what do I need? I'm going to go take care of myself. I feel so much better now. And be able to have wisdom, emotional intelligence, in a challenging situation. So I love your share, Mary. Do you mind sharing how you feel about yourself instead of beating yourself up, and how you feel about being a mom now, how you've changed in those ways?
I know it's a little trite phrase, but it's really how I feel. I trust the process. I trust that taking things one small piece at a time is healthy. And all these things that I want to improve on, I can. But I really just take care of myself and give myself the strength and the food and the rest that allows me to relax and just do what is needed as a mom and as a work, I'm not an employee, but as a service provider, right? I know I can give myself what I need so that I am able, like you said, to respond. But it's not even responding. A lot of times it's more because in chess, if you respond, you die. You have to develop your own winning strategy and adapt your strategy to what the other person is doing, which is what I feel like I'm doing now. I'm not responding to life. I'm not responding to the challenges that are coming to me. I'm making I have a goal and I don't know the path to get to the goal, but I know the path for the next 5 minutes. And I know that if I just keep doing that, I will get to the goal.
Beautiful. Yeah. And that circumstances don't have to pull you in one direction or another, which is what I always felt like when you're just responding to life instead of really being your own compass and listening to your internal compass and doing what's right and what works for you. And I remember thinking, wow, my life has really kind of simplified a lot because what I do all the time is take care of myself, and then everything else just kind of works itself out. I used to have piles of unopened mail. Somehow those just got done. I used to have piles of unfolded laundry. Somehow that just gets done more often now because I'm slowed down and taking care of myself. So I love that. There was one more thing I was going to ask you and then wrap up. What is it like being free of chronic symptoms and knowing that you don't have to have symptoms in your life?
I don't have a good word, but I've been, I've been seeing my value, right? Instead of focusing on symptoms and how do I get rid of this and how do I become healthy and all this, it's really a negative focus, right? Instead of focusing on all this managing, I have to do this so I can take care of the digestive problems that I'm having. I have to make sure that I get enough sleep so that my depression doesn't get out of control, right? And it's really just this fear, like anxiety based response to things that I can't control. Like I have depression, so I just have to manage. I have digestive problems, so I just have to eat the right foods. And it just felt so, I wasn't living. I was just I wasn't enjoying. I was, how do people say, this is just life and you just have to deal with it. And you just take what you're given and just, I mean, that's just life and that's just what you do. And everybody has problems and everybody has health problems and everybody is sick. So just accept the fact that you're sick and find happiness where you can find happiness. And that's kind of the really depressing idea that I feel like was being fed all around me.
Yep. And
I didn't like it. I didn't accept it. I knew that there was a better option, but I didn't know what it was. And now it's every once in a while, I feel like I'm enjoying the challenge. I can see what the challenge in front of me is. And I'm like, that's an amazing place I can grow in. Like, who doesn't love like an adventure story? Right? Who doesn't love the story of the person who's down on their luck who changes their fate, right? And so every once in a while, I'm like, I can see my story in front of me and I'm like, oh yeah, this is beautiful. This is wonderful. Look at where look at the unattainable goal that the hero gets to try to reach. And it doesn't matter if the hero actually reaches the goal. You can see it's beautiful to watch them try.
That's beautiful. Yep. And I love what you're pointing to. Everyone I speak with is really resigned and cynical about their symptoms. And it is what we're fed, even by well-meaning holistic practitioners that say, oh, you don't have to be in pain forever. I have this remedy, but you have to take this forever. Right? But instead of focusing on the symptoms and the problem and fixing the problem, because whatever you resist persists, you're resisting your symptoms, you're stuck with your symptoms. So I love how you share there's another way, how in this healing path, it's coming to value yourself, accept and enjoy the journey. And that even though we have goals, I have goals that I'm working towards, but my value isn't wrapped up in achieving it. My value is in myself and how I treat myself every day and how I accept myself for who I am and my life for everything that it is. And I get excited about the opportunities for growth. And sometimes I, don't feel excited about the opportunities for growth, but I'm grateful that I know how to grow through the challenges and that I have a community of support. But that's what it's really about. And I just shared with a new lady who just started her program with me 2 weeks ago. I said, this is what being healthy is about for you. And it's looking at, do I accept love? Do I take care of myself or do I beat myself up all the time? Like, we uncovered how she was an unhealthy person for herself. Said, this is what it's about. And the side benefit of working on these things is your symptoms will go away, but it's a side benefit. The true benefit is how you get to change and heal on the inside and feel on the inside. And that's what this is about. So thank you, Mary. Is there anything else you want to say before I wrap up today that you want people listening to know?
Yeah, actually, this little phrase that it was written in the front of a book, and I think it was in my dad's handwriting, but he doesn't remember writing it. And it's something that's repeated to me regularly because it's so simple and it's so helpful. It says, you can't plow a field by turning it over in your mind. And I love that because that's what I feel like I've been doing. I'm trying to work. I'm trying to accomplish the work of my life. I have laundry and I have errands and chores, but the bigger work is I have relationships that I want to people I want to enjoy my time with. And all I'm doing is turning over in my mind how to change and what to do and why, and questions and negativity, and just accept, and all the things that you're told. And it's just crammed full of all this dirt that I'm just digging through and turning over, and I feel like I'm working. But it doesn't grow potatoes.
I love that, Mary. That's actually, I didn't know you would say that, but it's a great segue, because we don't make any real changes and we don't get healthy by doing the same thing we've always done. We've got to actually take action and do something new. So my invitation for those watching is, if this speaks to you and you're sick of having chronic symptoms, you're really ready to get to the real cause, the root of the root cause of your symptoms, and resolve them quickly, and learn to live life at peace with yourself, valuing yourself, taking care of yourself, where you're feeding your nervous system a communication that all is well, so you can be in self-repair 24/7. It's not a long process. So I invite you to reach out just like Mary did. I offer a free consultation, and it's no pressure. We talk, I get to know you. I get to look at your labs and what your doctors have done and what else you've tried, and really find the missing pieces and discuss with you what you need to do to get well. And that's where it starts. I don't work with everybody that I do a free consult with. I only work with the people that are a good fit for what I teach. Otherwise, I connect them with one of my colleagues that specializes in a different area, or maybe I do some research and I look at what might be best for them. So it's really a win-win call where you get everything you need. And it's really my purpose and my greatest joy to advocate for people, because the medical system doesn't, the alternative medical system doesn't truly advocate for real, complete health, total healing, like a complete remission of symptoms. So it is my pleasure to advocate for you, every single person that I talk with. So I will post the link to my calendar in the description of the video in the comments below. You can click that and schedule some time with me, and fill out a little bit of information just so I can prepare before our conversation on what we need to talk about. And the other best way to plug in and get answers that you're missing if you still have symptoms is to let me know. Tag me in the comments below, or on Facebook, or private message me. Tell me what you're dealing with, and I'll point you to the right places in the Facebook group, to some of the classes that I've taught on how you can start dealing with and taking the same steps that Mary has taken to become symptom-free. So thank you so much. And thank you, Mary, for sharing so vulnerably. I had the tears, I had the laughs, and I hope everyone did too. And I look forward to talking with you all very soon. Thank you.
Thanks. I'm going to stay on for a second after you